Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life. Everybody, November 17th is National Hiking Day. I think hiking day should be every day, but hey, we're going to celebrate hiking across America and around the world today. We've got a panel discussion coming up right now with some special guests, and then after that, we have more special guests joining us talking about their favorite hikes everywhere from the Blue Ridge Mountains to England and Wales, all kinds of great places. So stay tuned. Our first guest today is Sharon K. Kurtz. You hear her on Big Blend Radio every first Wednesday, where we wander the world with Sharon. She is a travel writer and an award-winning photographer. You can go to her website, SharonKKurtz.com. That's Kurtz with a K. And as always, the links to everyone's websites and stories are in the episode notes, so check that out. But welcome back, Sharon. How are you? I'm
very well. Thank you for inviting me. I love hiking.
Always good to have you on the show. And we've been talking about all kinds of things this month. So this is fun. Hiking is a good one. Sharon is based in Austin, and she's going to talk a little bit about Texas and Slovenia. Why not? We want to say Slovenia. That sounds good. We're also going to go over to Arizona. We're going to Tucson to chat with Elaine A. Powers. She's an author, a conservationist, a biologist, and also part of the Tucson Sisters in Crime, because you never know what her iguana might get up to. You can go to her website, ElaineAPowers.com. How are you, Elaine?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you back on the show. Now that Halloween's over, are the Sisters in Crime still, up to some crime? You ladies behaving yourselves in Tucson?
Well, of course we are. But we're still at hard at work in our crime activities.
Yeah, that's good. And getting ready for the Festival of Books next year, right? Because that comes up pretty soon.
Absolutely. We've got our booth reserved, and hopefully it'll be in the same spot. So do drop by and see the new mysteries we've come out with.
Oh, very cool. Well, I know hiking trails can be part of mysteries, It's, there's all kinds of crimes that can happen in the forest. This is really good. I don't know, whatever happens when Elaine comes on a show or one of the Tucson Sisters in Crime, I'm like, ooh, let's plot a murder. It's always fun. But everyone, Elaine is going to take us to Hawaii, Saguaro National Park in her backyard, one of my favorite places to hike too, and the Cayman Islands. So, of course, we're going to go hiking with iguanas, right? Does that sound good?
Yes.
That's good to me. We have Judy Carnia. She is a travel writer and nature therapy guide who loves to forest bathe. And she's going to take us in her backyard, which is Scottsdale, Arizona. But she started out in the Midwest, up in the Chicagoland. So she's been hiking all around the country and Costa Rica this year. So welcome back, Judy. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. I always love about hiking.
Now, what do you think about this plotting murders?
I don't like that idea.
No. I know. I'm thinking.
I should think about that when I'm out hiking.
No, that's not your thing. I know. Everyone, JudyCarnia.com is Judy's website, and excited to have you back on the show. Also, Tiffany Bertram, her and her husband Bob own and run Tiffany's Bed and Breakfast just outside Hot Springs in a town called Bismarck, just outside Hot Springs National Park in Arkansas. It is beautiful. They have acres of trails on their property, and it's beautiful with a creek running through. And you can go to tiffany'sbedandbreakfast.com. The last time I went hiking with their dog Buddy, we saw barred owls and deer and all kinds of fungus, which is, we love to have among us. So welcome back, Tiffany. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
I'll just invite you on with fungus and mushrooms and things, but it's true. You do. I've seen lunar moths on your property, all kinds of, is it Luna or lunar?
Elaine,
Luna moths on your property, and just, there's always something beautiful and flowers, and it's a good place to go hiking.
All kinds of wildlife.
Yeah. Yes. How many acres is the property again?
We are on 60 acres of woods, so plenty of room to hike and walk around and bird watch and animal watch and wildlife watch.
Mm. And Hot Springs itself, this is what's so unique. Hot Springs National Park actually is the town too, which is a different kind of thing, that the park and the town are all connected. And you just go from the downtown and you could be hiking through hardwood forests, which are beautiful. I mean, you're hiking through magnolia trees and all, there's a lot of water as well. That's the other beautiful thing about your area. But would you say Hot Springs is, there's the springs themselves, like you can go to the bathhouses and soak after those hiking trails, but you've got a lot of hiking trails in your backyard beyond the
We've
B&B.
got a ton of hiking trails. Yeah, and it's wild to be in Hot Springs National Park and see deer, and then a few steps later you're in the middle of traffic. So it's a very unique park.
And you can go up to the watchtower too. There's a trail to take you there.
Yes.
And go up that watchtower.
And to look over all the area.
Mm. And then the state parks. You got state parks too.
Arkansas has 52 state parks, and about 4 of them are right in our backyard practically. So, and all Arkansas state parks have free admissions, so they are wonderfully maintained and have lots of hiking trails in them as well.
Mm. And the Lake DeGray, that has some nice trails, which isn't far from you, right? Is DeGray Lake or Lake DeGray? I always twirl it around.
It is DeGray Lake, and the other two are Lake Washita and Lake Catherine. So, yes, we have lots of trails here.
And the one thing too, when we were there, we saw bald eagles. That was cool.
Oh, Lake DeGray has lots of nesting pairs of bald eagles that are here all year long. So you can always find some there.
Now, do you have fall colors right now?
We are right about at the end of fall colors, but yes, we still do have a few. There's a lot on the ground, but there's still a few hanging around.
And then winter's got to be cool, out there, to go hiking and stuff.
Winter,
I know. Yeah.
Yes, winter is beautiful. I like it because you can see what's through the trees in the winter, and then the spring and summer, the leaves are covering up a lot of the beauty of what's back behind those trees. So yeah, winter's a fun time to hike too. And it's not, I mean, we're still kind of southern, so winter is not 6 feet of snow.
Yeah,
pretty mild.
It's mild and mild compared to summer. You guys get a little warm in the summer, but we still hike.
A little warm.
Just a little sweaty. Little sweady is not
bad. You
and
Buddy took lots of hikes in the summer.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. But we start off with really good breakfast at Tiffany's. Got to give a shout out, and you get brownies. So put that in your backpack, because everyone gets to have chocolate on their hike, right? That you need to have
right.
Good sustenance. Judy, I want to go up to you in Scottsdale, Arizona, and this is a beautiful time of year to go hiking where you are, right?
Yeah, this is our best time. With just highs in the 60s and lows in the 40s and 50s, and almost always sunny. So it's beautiful.
Now, tell us a little bit about McDowell Sonoran Preserve. I've not done that yet, and that's more in the north, right, of Scottsdale.
It's in North Scottsdale, yeah. Pretty easy to get to, though, from any part of the valley. I think there's 8 different trailheads. My favorite is the Gateway Trailhead, and it has lots of parking. It has nice bathrooms and water, so it's a great place to start and end. And there's a variety of trails for everyone. There's the Bahada Nature Trail, which is maybe I think it's about a mile, and it has signage telling you about the desert and about the preserve, all flat. And then you can do a simple loop, or you can do called the Gateway Loop. Mm-hmm. You can go up to Bell Pass, which it has a beautiful view from there, or Wingate Pass going the other direction. Or you can loop them up and do a 10-mile hike that goes all the way back around the mountains.
Wow.
And I mean, I love the desert. It's like you said, I grew up in Chicago and, didn't know anything about the desert till I came out here, and it's beautiful. People think of it as like a wasteland or something, but there's so much foliage. There's birds and bees and rattlesnakes. I've seen a couple of rattlesnakes on this trail.
Cool.
So watch for that. But you can get great views of the city, and then you can go back around the backside and just see, land as far as you can see the desert. Different times of year, there's different flowers, and there's always the saguaro cacti looking down on you. So that's always fun to see. I think I'm kind of used to them, but when I first came, I was like, the saguaro, with the arms, and they are really cool.
Gumbies.
Yeah, exactly.
The Gumbies. Well, and I think also you bring up this great point that people don't realize that the desert does have mountains. It's not just a big, flat patch of sand with the Gumby cactus. There's so much vegetation that is so fascinating year round. And sometimes, we get a little bit of dusting of snow in the desert too, which is just magic. I can't wait to see my big blue skies. I miss my big blue skies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing I like about it too. I was just in Vermont and did some hiking there, and it's gorgeous, but all you see is the trail. Whereas when you're in the desert, you see across the whole land, so you get great views from every point of your hike, because you're not blocked by any trees. You can see out across all the different cacti, and we have some trees, but they're small,
Yeah. Yeah. And so can you just touch on forest bathing, what that is for everybody? Because it doesn't mean you have to go and take a bath in fallen leaves. Though that sounds fun. But you may not want to do that in the desert. I'm just saying that could hurt.
Exactly.
But tell
careful.
everyone a little bit about forest bathing, because they may want to incorporate that as part of their hiking experience.
Yeah, forest bathing is a great nature immersion. It's just a very slow, contemplative, meditative type practice where you're really, when I lead it, I begin with a meditation to get people grounded and to get you aware of your different senses. Because when you're hiking, you're out, you're looking, you're seeing what's around, but, are you really listening to it? Are you really observing, all the differences in the leaves and the rocks, and, what can you smell? And so it's really like staying aware of your senses, being present in the moment, and really getting that connection to nature rather than just, walking through it.
I want to go on over to Elaine Powers with Saguaro National Park. We'd start hiking at 4 a.m. to see the sunrise, depending on the time of year. And saguaros and, even the ocotillos. I love all year round. I'll go to Saguaro Park. Summer monsoon season is gorgeous. And there's wildflowers almost throughout the year. Like practically, I think from, late winter all the way through fall, right, Elaine? That you can see wildflowers, but they just change up in Saguaro National Park. According to the season, because you have 5 seasons, don't you? In the Sonoran Desert.
We do. And keep in mind, we do have 2 saguaro national parks, the one on the east and the one on the west. And even though they both have saguaros, obviously, the vegetation and the plants in each is a little different. So they're each unique. And one is more mountainous than the other. The other one is the one where you can see forever as you're going through it. But that's the interesting thing about the desert is there's usually something in bloom. Even during the driest months, some plants are still out there blooming. And I always find that amazing.
I love that. I mean, and then when the monsoon season comes, and if you have a good season, the saguaros get so fat, and even the ocotillos they remind me of like when a horse gets extra, furry over winter, but this is summer. You know what I mean? How fat they get.
Yes. Because they're storing the water. So they take it into their tissues and they plump out so nicely. And you can really see it with the prickly pear cactus because they'll shrivel up during the winter or the dry months. And then after a rain, they just fill out and are nice and plump and juicy looking.
I think it's so important to talk about the vegetation of the desert because it's I remember going to a garden in Yuma, Arizona on the lower Colorado River. They took what was a landfill and put in a solar farm. They rehabilitated the lower Colorado River. And I know I've told the story a gazillion times, but it's just such an amazing accomplishment of the Native American tribes and all the different agencies getting together to clean up the Colorado River. Had a lot of pollutants in it because of the agriculture, and also the non-native species. And so they cleared the non-native species. They put in trees, cottonwood trees, and, we canoed, and you can really, as soon as you got into the zone where they rehabilitated and restored, there was like a wall of birds, egrets, and the beavers came back and it was just, to me, this is just this magical thing. 49 agencies coming together to do this. And they put in a hummingbird garden, a butterfly garden, and even did a burrowing owl area. And, but then the raptors came. They did it too well that the raptors kind of took out anyway. They had a little bit of a bloodbath over there, but, it was really amazing what they did. And, we went through the garden and did a video with the gardening specialists there, and they were talking about how visitors would come, and not understand how to look at like a fairy duster flower and realize it's flower, and didn't understand, like, a lot of times flowers in the desert. Yes, you've got the big, beautiful cactus blooms at times, but a lot of the flowers are small, and didn't understand how to look at those flowers, and realize it was a flower. And so I want to go to Judy on that, because doing the forest bathing, do you find that people are opening their eyes more to seeing things that they didn't see before by being more observant and just kind of calming down in one area of the forest or the park?
Yeah. And I do forest bathing at the Arboretum, the Boyce Thompson Arboretum. And people will tell me, I've been coming here for years, but I've seen it a whole new way today. And going forward, I will come with a different mindset, and things they didn't notice before.
And then Elaine, for you, as a conservationist and biologist, having those, you have like an extra pair of eyes when you're out there, right? To see what bugs are in the flower. You're going on like, okay, this is a small flower, or maybe it's a little bit bigger, but how many species are hanging out in that plant, right? Do you do that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm always looking for what animals are there amongst the plants.
Yeah, see, and this is the other thing. When you take dogs with you, like Buddy, right, Tiffany, don't they kind of let you know about things you didn't know were there? That's the other thing.
Absolutely. He sees and hears things way before I do.
Yeah, and you just like, walking dogs, like, listen to your dogs, watch what your dogs are smelling, and they'll find things you would have just walked by, and be aware, because sometimes it's a snake, or something, there's tarantulas, there's all kinds of cool things. But as hikers, we do need to be aware of those, slithery and furry things, and be nice to them. Elaine, before we get to Sharon, any advice on that for people in regards to snakes and things, because people kind of get scared and freak out. I know I've done my amount of running over the years from snakes, even though they tell you not to. Heck no. I've run down that mountain and then left Nancy with 2 puff adders going at her after I bailed the scene. So, any advice on, and number one, don't kill them, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're very important. Unless you like rats in your house, then by all means kill off the snakes. But the snakes are always more afraid of you than you are of them. Just make sure you give them an exit route. Stop, let them get out of, most of them will just take off at full speed. So take a picture quick as it's retreating into the brush. But snakes are very important to our living environment as well.
And honestly, this is why, don't get too close to animals with your cameras unless you have a big telephoto lens. You have that distance between you and the animals. My last I've had a lot of snake encounters, but a really good, memorable one was in Saguaro National Park. A rattlesnake went right over my hiking boot, and I just looked at him. I'm like, "Oh, look at that!" And it was like a magical moment for me. And then he went to the Ramada where we were, went under the Ramada, and then he decided to come in the Ramada, and that wasn't good. And we had to jump out of the Ramada. You know where I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yes.
At the top. I have found there was a black one with golden diamonds, and I don't know if that was a pit viper, but I mean, he was all snug in the rocks. Every time I go there, I see snakes. Rocky areas are good for rattlesnakes, but they're beautiful.
They really are.
Not have like headphones in or be listening to music while you're hiking, because if you come across a rattlesnake, they're going to warn you. You're going to hear it. Mm-hmm. You hear it,
exactly
20 yards away. So just pay attention and they'll warn you to stay away. Yeah. I came there just sitting in the middle of the trail, rattling away at me. It's like, okay, bud, it's all yours. You just away and just leave them alone. And there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. And they do also travel in pairs at times. So it can be, depending, but, and also know that snakes are year round, right? Elaine, that's another thing. Snakes are year round. They're a little bit more dormant in winter depending on the weather, but they can come out, right? People tend to think they're not there, but they are.
They are.
Still be aware.
And if the weather is warm in the winter, they will come out of brumation. They're just hanging out down in their dens during the cooler weathers.
Okay.
But if it's a lovely January day, they will come out.
That's right. I mean, and the lizards. Oh my gosh, the desert. I love the lizards and the geckos and all of that. There's a tiny little gecko we saw. We were out in the Dragoon Mountains on our way to Texas. It was earlier this year. And there was this tiny little gecko, and I knew he was a gecko because he had the webbed feet. Tiny. And he almost like hops. Do you know what those are? Like, I should have taken a photo. I don't know if I have a photo. I'll have to look. But I didn't even quite realize that we'd have geckos. We were so used to the bigger lizards and the iguanas, the desert iguanas, but this is like a little gecko, like a size of a thumb.
Yeah, we have the native Sonoran desert gecko.
Oh, okay.
It's been outcompeted by the house gecko. But we do have them, and they're actually very attractive. They have little spots on them.
Yes, that's it. He
Yes.
had little spots, and he was so cute. I looked at his face. I'm like, oh, you are so cute. You were sweet. But, you need to stay, don't take them. Don't take them home. I've got to go. Let's stay in the Southwest. Sharon, out in Austin, Texas. Tell us a little bit about the hike that you want to recommend people do.
Well, I have two to talk about. My one in Texas is the Enchanted Rock. That is about 90 minutes from Austin in the hill country, and it's a really popular outdoor experience where it's a massive pink granite dome that rises above the Texas hill country and has panoramic views from the summit.
It's beautiful. And we talked a little bit about that on your December podcast coming up,
Right.
for everyone. She talks about Fredericksburg. So Fredericksburg, so you're in the hill country, you could go hiking and then have wine. Now let's get serious about things.
Right. Well, it is, you need good hiking shoes because it's quite steep, and it's about almost a mile up, and so a mile and a half, a little more round trip. But my story is that my son went to Texas A&M and proposed to his girlfriend on the top of Enchanted Rock. That's what Texas boys do. That's a memorable way to get engaged. But he didn't tell her in advance, and so she had flip-flops on. So that was quite a hike. But I think maybe if she got an idea what was coming, she powered up and she got up there to the top in her flip-flops.
Wow. Yeah. Flip-flops and hiking may not be a good idea, but then I have a friend, Robin Easton. She lived in the Daintree Forest and went completely barefoot and kind of naked for a long time. This is in Australia, and you want to talk about snakes? She became one with the nature, like in all kinds of ways. And look her up, Robin Easton, because she barefoot hikes, and she's in New Mexico now. and she got used to it. So, I mean, it is possible. People say don't do it, but I think, Judy, that goes back to forest bathing, of being very aware and
Yeah, actually,
barefoot.
after my training, I had to do a 3-day immersion, and I was at the Martin Arboretum in Chicago, and it was a wooded area, and I took off my shoes and was walking. And you have to walk. Well, I had to walk very slowly, because my feet weren't calloused or whatever. So it was amazing to walk barefoot in the forest. Yeah,
It's
and I
grounding.
definitely encourage, getting your feet onto the dirt.
I just don't know about the desert, but she does it. I don't know about, with all the little
Pretty rocky here, so that would be
and
really difficult.
all the cactus needles and things like that,
Mhm.
but she does it. So, but go power to your daughter-in-law, Sharon. Good for her.
Yeah.
She did it. I know Judy has to leave us. She's got to go forest bathe. But before you go forest bathing, keep your clothes on, Judy. I'm just
I
kidding.
will.
After we're talking about,
Definitely.
but before you go, and I'm going to ask each of you on this, if you could go hiking with someone, just to, get, connect with them on something to do with, maybe what they've done as a hiker, or being out in nature, just to meet them and learn from them, who would you want to go hiking with? Like, I mean, I wouldn't mind going with David Attenborough. Nancy would pick David Attenborough because every plant and thing that she sees, she does David Attenborough voice. Um, but who would you want to go with on a hike?
I have a good friend who used to live in Scottsdale, and she moved to Pittsburgh, and we used to go hiking, and I miss her very much. My friend
Oh,
Cynthia, I would love to have her back here to take another hike.
well, tell her she's not allowed to move.
I know it.
Well, there's such a thing as travel. So that's
Yes,
awesome. That's awesome.
I go visit her. So,
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I mean, she needs to come. I mean, it's going to be cold now, so she needs to come to the desert
yes.
to see you. That's what
Yeah.
has to
Okay, I'll
happen.
tell her you said so.
Yeah, I mean, I can make
Make
anything
her happy.
happen.
Thank
Well, Judy,
you.
thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
everyone.
you.
JudyCarnia.com, and I've got a link to her article so that you can follow her story about hiking in Scottsdale and up there. So thank you so much, and
Thank
McDowell.
you.
So
Great conversation.
you take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Sharon. Who would you take to Enchanted Rock for
Well,
a hike?
I would take a girl as well. My favorite cousin, one of them, is named Nancy Lewis. Nancy lives in Oakland, California, and she
Mm.
is older than me, but she is fiery little thing, and she hikes with everywhere in the world she has hiked. So she would teach me a lot, and I'd like to go hiking with Nancy.
Oh, and that's a good name too. Nancy says so. She's sitting around the corner. She's playing with squirrels right now. I'm not
Oh.
kidding. She's turned into a squirrel person. Like, that's her thing, is to watch squirrels all day. Yeah, that's a thing. Elaine, who would you go hiking with?
Well, if I have to choose one person, because actually pretty much any biologist friend would be good, I would choose Joe Wasilewski.
Ooh, that's
His
a good name.
it is. He's got a wealth of knowledge about the animals, especially here in the Sonoran Desert, but he's also pretty good at catching them. So if we saw something interesting, odds are he could probably catch it, and then we could look at it for a while before releasing it, of course. But I'd like to see the animals through his eyes.
Mm, very cool. Yeah, you've got to know what you're doing with animals if you're going to do that, and not scare them,
And hurt
and
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's techniques for that, and yeah, awareness, right? For sure. Tiffany, who would you take hiking?
Do they have to be alive?
No, you can
Then I would
resuscitate
pick
someone.
John. Okay, I'm going to pick John Muir.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. There's a lot to learn from him, you know?
There
Definitely.
is, and I just think it would be fascinating. And if it had to be someone alive, I don't have a particular person, but I'd want to go with a Native American because there's a
Hmm.
huge Native American history in the Hot Springs area, and I know that they would be able to point things out to me that I would have never known without that. So
Mm.
I would relish in their acknowledgement and like to see things through their eyes.
Yeah, because they were at the springs first, when you think of it.
Oh, yes.
You know?
Yes, there's a ton of Native American history around here.
Ah, well, now you're giving us another story idea for when we come back. Well, yeah, we haven't covered that, have we, at all?
No, no, we haven't.
No. Okay, well, all right. That's the next thing then, I suppose. You know, it sounds good to me.
Cool.
Because, you know what, because they understand the plants, medicinal and,
Absolutely.
Any hike that I've been on, ranger programs and things like that. And then just friends have taken me hiking, like, I learned how to gather sage properly and ask permission to gather sage when we lived in Southern California. And Native American friends who would gather it for, sage bundles to burn, and white sage. And a lot of sage was actually getting, over. And there was this widespread thing where people were just going on trails and picking sage everywhere, which was destructive. And we were losing certain sage species. And so they were very much like, you go out, you communicate with the sage, and you will know if you take that time. So it's kind of like, again, going back to that observance. And I learned so much, going out and understanding what lived off of what. And if you pick this too early, then you've killed this part for this animal to live off of that, and that's good. When you say, Elaine, that goes with what you do too, is understanding where, when, and where, and by the way, we weren't doing this in park areas. It was just out in the wildlands and things like that, and reservations too. But Elaine, yeah, we need to know what we're doing when we're, saying, hey, let's do a sage bundle. Don't just pick it.
Absolutely. Not only for the plants, but the animals. So
yeah, when you go in parks, do not take stuff home. You may think it's a dead thing and who cares, but a lot of times they're being used for something. Even a pine cone, you're taking the chance away from baby pine cones to be made. Baby trees,
as well as the food supply for many little animals.
Yeah, exactly. It's really an important thing. But Sharon, I want to go back to Enchanted Rock. So wineries are right down the hill, right? You could go up, do your big hike, and go down and have wine afterwards.
Yes, it is the most wonderful part of Texas that everybody needs to go visit. There's so much to do. But yes, it's kind of a rite of passage to hike up to Enchanted Rock and see this panorama all around once you get up there.
How far is it from Austin?
It's 90 minutes from Fredericksburg. So I would say let's just say it's 2 hours from Austin.
Nice. And spring wildflowers in Texas, the bluebonnets. Oh, and speaking of snakes, the bluebonnets have their own snake. It is like a different color. It is bluish. And so it's like a bluebonnet rattlesnake. Have you seen one?
No.
Elaine, have you heard about those? The bluebonnet rattlesnakes?
No, I haven't.
We're going to freak everybody out from ever hiking again. But yeah, there is a bluebonnet rattlesnake that, it's a rattlesnake, but it's, I think it's a reflection of the, blues. I don't know. So I don't know what is the whole thing about it, but I don't want to go too far and say anything because I think it's really the reflection from the flowers on it. But I'm not I'm not the snake person, but there is the lore or the legend of the bluebonnet rattlesnake. So people can Google it. So Sharon, you're going to take us outside the country.
Yes, I have an interesting hike to talk about. This summer, I went to Slovenia, and a wonderful guy named Blush, it's spelled B-L-A-Z, but he has an active tour company called Activity Break. So we went with Blush for about 5 days all over Slovenia, but he picked us up in the Ljubljana airport. And so I had been a night without sleep. It was a rough flight. And our first stop was Lake Bled. If you've seen pictures of Slovenia, they always show this most gorgeous glacial lake with an island in the middle and this iconic church. It's in all of the tourism pictures. And so he took us there. First, we had a piece of a coffee and a piece of Slovenia cream cake. It's a special cake that they serve there. And we went on this hike. It's called the Oisornisa hike. It's quite famous. It's only short, about 35, 40 minutes up, but it's straight up. And it had rained. So I was tired and not ready for a big hike, but man, I got ready. And we made it to the top, and you have views like you have never seen of this gorgeous glacier lake.
Wow. And that lake is famous, the views
It
of it.
is. It's on all of the posters. And you see it. It's a view beautiful from any viewpoint. But up here at this high point, looking over it, it just takes your breath away.
You're so exhausted and everything, right? But you go on a hike. Don't you feel rejuvenated? Like your body comes to life again. More than even, I love coffee, but
yes,
there's something about it.
Seeing that steep climb, and you literally have to climb sometimes with your hands. You're going straight up and you have to grasp these rungs. So it was short, but man, it got your heart pumping for sure. But on the way back down, then you take in the beautiful meadows, and it's quite a famous hike. I think someone maybe from National Geographic one time, Blush said about 5 years ago, wrote about this hike. And now it's in the summer months. I mean, you might be in a long line of people trying to get up to the top, but not when I was there because it was a perfect time to go.
Well, yeah, if you go off season, right? And Tiffany, as a bed and breakfast owner and innkeeper, isn't that something too you want to tell people, go off season a little bit? It's going to be a little calmer, right? For people when, going to hot springs and things like that.
Oh, definitely. Any touristy spot, I think off season is going to be better, and the wildlife is more apt to be out, and you just have some elbow room. But
yeah, midweek is good too.
Right. And the neat thing about hot springs is we have so many trails that you can always find one that's a little less traveled than some of the others as well.
Well, I want to tell people that Sharon's got articles that we are also linking to that. But yeah, carry on, Tiffany, sorry.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, I don't know. I thought you did.
I will if you want me to.
Yeah, I know. It's all good. No. I was just because I think it's so important to kind of go off season and let, even the wildlife have a break and do, like you were saying, you have such a big trail network to maybe do some of the ones that are least known. But I mean, I think, Sharon, you were lucky at being at a time that wasn't heavy tourist season, maybe. And Slovenia I remember you saying it's a very green country, very environmentally conscious, right?
It is, and it's all about nature. And it is not terribly touristy at all. So if you go to Slovenia, I recommend going to Lake Bled, and rather than just taking in the sights and leaving, take this hike up to the summit.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, that's the views, that's the thing I think, and sometimes it's so easy to get to an area from a city, like even Saguaro National Park, like we were talking about. You can be in the city and then get into nature quicker than you think. And it's important to have those buffer zones for the parks and things too, so that, you don't have a coal mine right outside the door of a national park or something, which our parks face. A lot of that kind of issue, like the Grand Canyon and the coal-powered stations in the Navajo Nation. It was really affecting them, and changes have been made, and there's always a fight to still be had for all of those things. And I think as hikers, when you go into these places and you start understanding the beauty of it, hopefully we will stand up for protecting these special and sacred places, so that wildlife. I mean, as human species, we're animals, but we encroach, right? And we used to live amongst the animals, right? And we still do, but right now, as we expand building and things like that, and we go into these natural areas, it's so important to have that balance and peace of mind and understand that we're actually in somebody else's home in a way. Even though it's our parks, right? We're still in a natural area. And I kind of feel like we really have to, at this day and age, have extra precautions. What do you think, Elaine? Am I going off my soapbox a little bit? I feel like we really are going to need to do more in the next few years in protecting what we have that is protected at this airing date.
Oh, absolutely. That's why so many of the parks say, please stay on the trail, because the soil surface is even fragile, that if it's walked on, you may be destroying part of the ecosystem. So we're there to enjoy it, but it's not we have to share it. So we have to leave it as nice as we can for other people. Right now, a big problem that I'm running across is finding people leave their little doggy poop bags. Sure, they claim they're going to pick them up when they come back, but they don't. And so not only do you have the dog poop, but you also have the plastic bags they're in.
And that's not good.
No. And why are people doing that? I just don't understand.
Yeah. There's certain areas where you can take dogs and certain areas you can't. So not all national parks will let you take your dogs, and there's reasons for that. But let's go to the Cayman Islands. And this is, I think what's great about what you do, Elaine, is you're doing children's books with these, animal characters and iguana characters and Curly and the lizards. And I think you're instilling this education, but it's like in a fun way. For kids to grasp, and that they're educating their parents at the same time, right? Reminding people. So I think that's so important, so that we do have these places to hike and enjoy, and that nature can abound and be. But take us to the Cayman Islands. Like, what are the hiking trails? I mean, you're going to see the ocean, right?
Well, it depends on where you are.
Okay.
If you're you can hike in places that are pretty far away from the ocean, and you're not going to see them, besides the fact it's a fairly flat island. Of course, for me, the highlight is the fact that there are iguanas around, and so it's always exciting to see them on the trail. But each of the islands is very different, because Cayman Brac has the high bluff, and the people who inhabited the island would use the rocky formations as part of their daily lives. And so they're really challenging hikes because it's limestone karst. But to see the ecosystem, the plants that have adapted to that very harsh environment, the animals that are scurrying around, of course, the birds, they have some really spectacular birds too. So each one is different. Grand Cayman, of course, is the large one that if you're a normal tourist, you will go to. Cayman Brac is the second largest, and Little Cayman are kind of off by themselves. They're called the Sister Islands, and they're actually 90 miles away from Grand Cayman, with trade winds between them. So each island is unique in its environment, and you can walk on trails along the coast and with the water crashing over the waves, or you can walk on a lovely sandy beach, or you can walk inland in the desert forests. So lots to see.
That is cool. And then Hawaii, you went to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, which is always moving and changing. And, that to me, I want to do those, the lava tubes. Did you go in any of that when you were there?
I did. That was a wonderful trip. I was 16, and it will always remain one of my favorite trips, not only for the hiking, but the culture that's there. But yeah, we would hike into the lava tubes. We'd hike on the black sand beaches. But my favorite was the walking across the caldera of Kilauea. And I'm not sure that they let people do that anymore, because you could see holes where the magma was right there at the surface. And so you're really hoping you didn't break through. And I was wearing rubber sole tennis shoes, the old kids' tennis shoes. And the soles of them actually melted because the ground was so hot.
I mean, I shouldn't say that, but didn't you think it was cool?
Oh, I did. I thought it was fabulous. It was a little warm at times.
Yeah.
But just an incredible experience.
Wow. Yeah, we do a lot of interviews with the National Parks Arts Foundation artists in residence in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. And also during when the volcano was erupting. And last night I interviewed a seismologist in Hawaii, and Barry. And everyone, stay tuned. Next week, you'll hear him on our show. He was instrumental on the tsunami that happened in the Indian Ocean, and helped. Yeah, it's like what we have today is thank you to Barry and his team, like in warning systems and things like that. And but he was talking about Hawaii, and I said, oh, and the interview I did before him was with an artist, Delbert Anderson, that's coming up in December. Everyone, Native American artist from New Mexico, and he's a trumpet player, jazz trumpet player in Hawaii right now. And he's in Hawaii, Volcanoes National Park. And I started to tell Barry, and he goes, there's movement right now. And I'm like, dude, Delbert, get out. I'm like, I need to go back to my interview before that, because apparently there's movement. And I think that is such a cool, it attracts a lot of artists and musicians and writers to that artist residency program, because it's moving. It's like creation and destruction at the same time. So this is like constant renewal and rebirth of a place. And so going there to me has got to be fascinating with all the lava. And that's and that brings me back to the southeast area of Arizona is Chiricahua National Monument. There's a hike. I mean, the hoodoos are incredible. But if you get to do this hike, it's through the grotto. You're going to be going through these rock formations, with views of where a volcano happened. And there's a great winery, LDV Winery, outside there. Sharon, you got to meet Peggy yesterday on her show.
I sure did.
Her wine is so good. I mean, not only are they amazing winemakers, but their grapevines are growing on volcanic soil. And so the wine is phenomenal because of that. But I encourage people in Southeast Arizona, there's Chiricahua National Monument and Fort Bowie, which you could do this hike. You go from the parking lot on the outside to get to the visitor center. It's like 1.5 miles, but you're going through Apache Pass. You're going on the Butterfield stage route. You're going where the Bascom Affair happened. It all went down in this one spot of history, yet you're surrounded by the beauty of Southeast Arizona. Some of the best, hummingbirds. That's the thing too. Madeira Canyon is not far. So this whole area is like a hiking paradise, Tucson and east of Tucson and south of north. I mean, Buenos Aires National Wildlife Refuge is another great place to go on some trails. You'll see all kinds of bird life, migrant bird life, pronghorn, depending on what part of the park you go to, because it has 4 different places. But Madeira Canyon is a good place to go hiking if you want to see broad-tailed hummingbirds, and it's amazing. Have you done that, Elaine? Gone to Madeira Canyon?
I have, and I believe that's where I saw a trogon.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I saw one too. Yeah,
at the top of the range. Yes. Oh, it's a gorgeous place.
I take it back. No, the trogon we saw was in Chiricahua National Monument. We saw that there. And we saw a bear the last time we were there, just last year. There was a bear in Chiricahua. Yeah, I know. That's cool. Do you get bears, Tiffany? Nope, she's gone.
Yeah.
Nope.
We've seen one here, but they're around.
But not like going to
not like in our front yard.
Yeah. Okay. I think they're cool to see on a trail. Well, this is amazing. Thank you all so much for sharing your experiences on the trails. There's so many hikes to talk about. Tiffany, did I miss anything out on other trails for the Hot Springs area? Are you good? Or you got more?
One thing I did forget to mention, we were talking about the trails up behind the bathhouses and everything. Just a cool thing, back in the day, the doctors would prescribe baths. You had to have a doctor's prescription to use the bathhouses. But along with that, they would prescribe a bath in the morning and then take a hike in the afternoon and then take a nap. And wonderful prescription for anything. They think the waters were healing, but I think it was the whole prescription of taking a bath and relaxing and getting some exercise in. So it's pretty fascinating. There are actually some of the trails are named for one of the doctors that he would prescribe certain parts of a trail to walk for, depending on what your ailment was.
Really? And now you can have a beer in a bathhouse.
Yeah.
In a park.
I'm sure that's a good prescription for something.
Yeah, they do. They have the Superior Brewing, and then you've got that, and then you've got, this, I always talk about that, but you had baseball people coming in, right? That attracted the baseball off season to go and clean up, right? And then that didn't happen, and the mafia came later, right? Who came first, the baseball or the mafia?
I think they were all kind of here at the same time.
Yeah.
Hot Springs was the first home for Major League Baseball spring training. So, and then they got here and realized, the gangsters were here, and there was some horse racing, and might have been some gambling in some of the back rooms, and so they had lots of things to do in their off time.
Sharon, have you been to Hot Springs yet?
I have. It's been a very long time. My dad lived in Arkansas, and so by the Buffalo River, and so we used to go to Hot Springs on a visit home.
Oh, wow. Wow. How cool. Have you been there, Elaine?
I have.
Ooh. Now, did you see water snakes?
I don't recall seeing any, no.
I haven't seen them in the Hot Springs area, but I did see them in Little Rock. There's Palomar Mountain State Park, which is not to be confused with this Palomar Mountain State Park in California, which we used to hike. And they have redwoods there. They planted redwood trees in Southern California. And it's a beautiful area near Julian, California. Beautiful hiking. And they have Mount Palomar, the observatory there. And it was a big deal. It's a very big deal, that observatory, but and beautiful trails. Oh my gosh. Now that I think of it, with ponds and wild roses and everything. But Palomar State Park, we went there, and Nancy's like, she's like, that's a water snake. I'm like, no, it's a moving branch. Well, then I got close. It's a water snake. Harmless, everyone. Harmless. But I love that. Like the water snakes, Arkansas has, you guys in North Carolina, South Carolina, same thing. I love that because, there's some dangerous ones like in Okefenokee. That's when I came up with, we hung out with alligators. I watched an alligator eat a turtle, and you wouldn't believe the sound of that. It was total massive crunching. Like, that was more than a bag of chips for him. But then I'm like, Nancy, the only thing we're missing right now, we've seen all kinds of bird life and flowers and all. I love Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia. And, it's like, we haven't seen any snakes. This is, this sucks. We want to see a snake. And lo and behold, here comes a cottonmouth. And I went to take a photo, and then I, just was too connected to nature, like to realize, like, if you do one more move, you're going down. And so I had to slowly do a backup. And, but it was, God, man, there's nothing like those boardwalks through the swamps, man. There is nothing like it. I highly recommend people go do boardwalks through swamps, the Everglades, Congaree National Park, places like that. It's just a big thicket in Texas. It is just this whole other world that, I don't know, you dream of until you're there. And it's like, ooh, and Arkansas has that all over, and 52 state parks that are free. You could do one a week and be really healthy and happy. So Sharon, let's go on a road trip.
I'd love to. I'm with you.
Elaine, are you coming? We can go look for reptiles.
Absolutely.
And we'll go stay at Tiffany's, and we'll go in her backyard, go hiking there first. Because it's really cool. It is actually amazing.
We can forest bathe too.
We can forest bathe, but you guys have two different forests on your property. When you go to the right in the back, it's like different to the one on the left. The trees are different. The vegetation, it's amazing. But you have those trees with the bow. They're bent trunk things.
The bent trees. Yep.
You have those.
Marker trees, I believe they call them.
Yeah, from the Native Americans that were there, right? They kind of bent. Am I doing this right? I'm not saying it right. They bent them like they slowly did that, or no?
That's what the legend is. I don't know if anyone has ever confirmed that or not, but that's what they say they did.
Cool. Well, thank you all again.
Another reason I need to go hiking with.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go, Tiffany. I'm like, I would go for a hike. Yeah, you want to go hiking with someone from locally? We need to we'll find someone. Let's find someone.
Or a Native American.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Who can tell us why they were there.
Maybe they can come on your specific property, and
absolutely
and find that history for you. That would be cool. We'll do that. We'll find it.
I would love it.
Let's do it. All right. So everyone, again, the link for everyone is in the episode notes. Some of our guests today have articles and we'll link to that, and everyone's links like ElaineAPowers.com. We've got JudyCarnia.com, Tiffany'sBedandBreakfast.com, and SharonKKurtz.com. Keep up with them there. Thank you all so much. Happy hiking.
Thank you. Happy hiking.
Thank you.
All right, so we're getting on to our next segment here on National Take a Hike Day or National Hiking Day. Which way would you like to say? I want to say take a hike. I like the action part of it. And sometimes we want to tell others to take a hike. But then I could say, you guys stay home. I'm taking a hike. But actually getting out in nature in the wilderness is so important. And our friend Julie is on the show here. Julie has been on the show a number of times. Julie D. Suman. She is a travel writer and she loves to go out into nature, and she takes some of the most awesome photographs of birds and wildlife, nature. So welcome back, Julie. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me back and the kind introduction.
Hey, listen, we all know that getting out in nature is good for our health, right? It's good for us. And then I think sometimes we need to do some volunteer work as we go out too. Go for a hike and maybe help pull out invasive plants and things like that too. What do you think as a nature lover too?
No, I mean, I think it's definitely important to that, or, even just picking up, because people aren't always necessarily considerate, picking up the trash. I live near the Chesapeake Bay, so there's certainly a lot of things that, I pay attention to with the watershed around here, and trying to protect that. So no, it's definitely, we want to protect our environment, and the beautiful places that we have to go and hike.
So when we look at, when we talk about the Chesapeake Bay, as a hiking destination, and we're going to talk about Maryland and Delaware, and everyone, we're going to put links into some of Julie's articles too, so we can follow up on that. And she's had some great times on our show talking about even the Osprey. Where were we in the Ospreys? Oh, that was cool. And yeah.
Yeah, that was Patuxent River Park down near Bowie, Maryland.
See, that's, again, last time she was on the show talking about that, I had to let her say it because apparently Patuxent. Did I do it yet?
Yeah, you got it.
So that's a good place to go nature walking, right?
For sure. There's trails there. You can get on the water and kayak. There's kayaking trails. Yeah, so there are some historical homes that you can go back and see. So there's definitely, trails that are open year round, and they're a great place to be near the water, see some wildlife, get out and stretch your legs, for sure.
And then also, I think the first time we met you, you came on talking about Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens, and that's over in the DC area, right?
Yes, it's in the DC. Yep.
So what about this time of year when we start going fall, winter? Would that still be a good place to go and stretch your legs, or wait until spring, summer?
So. Yeah, it connects to different trail systems that lead along the Anacostia River. Really popular for bicycling. and stuff. So there are certainly some trails that lead out of the Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens. So you could, check out the gardens, and even in the fall, they have a lot of wildlife that migrate to Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens. So you can, see some wildlife and also stretch your legs.
And okay, so the Chesapeake Bay area, Maryland, Delaware, is that all connected? Let's get the bearings here, because I've driven all around. I've walked, gone to refuges like Blackwater Refuge. I like that area.
Yes, it's great.
Great bird watching too. Fall, winter, still get your butt outside, even though you get a little chilly. Get out there, right? Still
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, in the fall is a great time to see the leaves. The Chesapeake Bay is sort of closer to the East Coast, but one of the things that I think in Maryland that often gets overlooked is Western Maryland. So, heading towards West Virginia. So Garrett County and Allegheny County, the two westernmost counties, have great fall coverage. And there's some excellent hiking out there at Deep Creek, Maryland. I was just out there in October for a long weekend and did some great hiking. There's a trail in Swallow Falls State Park. It's called the Swallow Falls Canyon Trail. It wanders along the water, and there's different waterfalls at different levels. So it's a great place to go and hear the running water and just sort of hang out and watch the water go by.
Oh, that's amazing too. And what I love too, Maryland touches into the Appalachian Trail. And I think,
Yes.
We all talk about the Appalachian Trail, and that lady just ran the trail. Did you hear about her?
No, I haven't, but
no,
oh my gosh.
40 days. She ran the entire trail in 40 days and is the fastest runner on the trail. She had hiked it, did a through hike, and then turned around and said, I think I'm going to run this. I need to follow her up. I'm going to find her and get her on a show, because I'm like, dude, you're crazy. Like, seriously, you know what it's like out there on the Appalachian Trail, that kind of humidity and all the different topography, because, she made me think of go back to it, because we always think the Blue Ridge Parkway and all that area, the Blue Ridge Mountains, Smoky Mountains, but you always say, oh yeah, it goes from Georgia all the way up to Maine, but it touches New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York. I forgot about that. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, where you were just talking about, West Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia. And she ran in 40 days. I don't know about 40 nights. I can't even run to get the mailman. Like, well, I can, but nobody needs to see it.
I would probably fall and break my ankle, because honestly, when I'm hiking, like, I'm constantly tripping over rocks and roots, and that's at a walking pace. I don't know. I think I'd be, a danger to society if I tried to run it. So.
Yeah. Well, I think kind of where you're talking about, for Maryland, it's kind of near there.
I think so. I think it is. I'm looking
on a map right now on it, and it goes through a lot of historic sites. Wow. No, it kind of goes through, but Maryland's interesting. It's an interesting state. So it's kind of like more like if you go northeast of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, then you're there. So yeah, I'm looking at it on a map. It's kind of cool for people
so it goes about, let's see, I'm looking at it now as well. And it goes through, not as far west as I was talking about before. Let's see, where is it?
Is it Potomac? Potomac.
Yeah, Potomac is closer to Washington, D.C. And there's I've not done some hiking down there. There's a Billy Goat Trail that people love. That's like a very technical trail that is probably somewhat near the Appalachian Trail. So
it also follows the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal towpath. That's cool.
Okay.
The Potomac River.
So that's more like
some parts.
That's more like Allegheny County in Maryland. So there's also some wonderful parks, state parks out there. There is Green Ridge State Forest, Rocky Gap State Park, and I think they also connect to some of the C&O canals that you just mentioned. So there has to be a link to the Appalachian Trail with those state parks as well.
So everyone, you can go to AppalachianTrail.org and check out, if you're going to go hiking the trail, check that out. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing system, but Maryland did shock me, because I kind of think, coming from the West when we started doing our tour into the East, Maryland shocked me because I kind of was like, oh, it's going to be all city. Like I just had DC in my mind, really. And I know you're not DC, but I just had that picture. You know how we do that as humans?
Yeah.
We're like, this is how it's going to be. And it's not at all. You have deer everywhere in neighborhoods. You have deer and flowers. And I don't know. You have a beautiful state. I think Maryland it's got like old world charm. And then the nature part of it, it seems that your state cares about nature and history when you go out.
It does. And I quite like being in the mid-Atlantic. In Maryland, of course, I live closer to Baltimore, but, I can be in the Western Mountains in like 2 hours. I could be at the beach in less than in about 2.5 hours. You've got big cities like DC and Baltimore, the Chesapeake Bay. Yeah, I mean, I do feel like, we've kind of got everything in close proximity, so it is a great place to be. But I'm biased, of course, because I live here.
Yeah, but for hiking, it's amazing because the coast, and then even Shenandoah is not far from you, right?
No, it's not too far down in Virginia. I think so. We were down in Charlottesville, Virginia, a couple weeks ago, and that was about a 2-hour drive. And I don't think Shenandoah was too far from there. So yeah, I mean, we can easily drive to Northern Virginia, and Charlottesville to down there. So certainly some beautiful, beautiful horse country down there too.
So the hiking trails, are any of them like, obviously we talked about the AT, but, through hikes like for overnight, or most of them day hikes in your region?
For me, just day hiking. I'm not necessarily backpacking to spend the night. But I think that, some of the trails that have the ability to do that, particularly the Green State Forest Park has, I think, some camping along its trail sites. But yeah, most of the hiking that I do is just out for the day or the afternoon.
So what I want to know about you hiking, because of your photography, how far do you actually make it on the trail in time to get back to the car before dark? Because I have a funny feeling that you're stopping a lot. Is that true about you?
I do stop a lot. So it also depends on who I'm hiking with, because some of my friends have patience for the stopping and taking pictures, and others don't. So it really depends on the company. My husband, thank God, has patience as well. So he'll even help carry the camera gear.
He's a keeper.
Definitely drag it out, because I do love to stop and take pictures. I'll be crawling down around the ground, and people will be looking at me like, what's this woman doing? But yeah, I do get distracted with the photography aspects.
Well, yeah, I think I like it when we can slow down and look at just look at the flowers, look at the little things,
right.
and not be
race.
so.
It's time to slow down and pay attention.
Mm-hmm. So easy hikes. I mean, for families too. I mean, did you do that? As family too, getting out there as hiking as a family? Do you do that?
Not really, actually. Even though I grew up kind of in the country, we were not an outdoorsy family at all. We traveled a lot. I definitely got the travel bug as a child. But no, I mean, it's really, I think, later in life and, meeting other friends that enjoyed hiking, and I've discovered a love of, nature and birding and wildlife sort of, over time. And it's really something that I've, come to love, later in life, actually.
That's interesting. Yeah. And it gets you away from the computer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the tech side of it.
I just need green space. Even sometimes, even if it's just going and sitting out on the deck for a little bit, I need, that sort of boost you get from being out in nature.
It is I think it just reconnects us. It's like a battery charger. Mm-hmm. It makes you happy, and then you find what do we connect with in the world, and you disconnect to reconnect, right? So people going into Maryland and Delaware area. So like, what would you say would be like, you've never been to the area, what would be your top 3 trails for moderate, easy hiking, So,
Sure.
so it's age appropriate for all ages and easy ability kind of thing that
Yeah.
people, where would you recommend people go for that kind of, hey, we just got here, we don't know anywhere. Like next time we go to Maryland, we're calling Julie like 100%. You know, I wish
Yeah.
we'd known you like at that point. I think we met you while on air, like doing a podcast while we were there, and you're like, you need to go while you're here, and we're like, we
Yes.
can't. We were so slammed. I'm like, oh, this sucks, but we'll do it. We'll get there.
Yeah.
I promise. We will. We always do. It just takes time as you travel the country to see everyone, but we will. But yeah, like 2 or 3 hikes that you would recommend for people that are, that don't know the lay of the land of your region.
Yeah. So out in Western Maryland, Deep Creek, Maryland, there's actually Deep Creek State Park. It's a very accessible park. There's a beautiful lake, obviously, and it has a range of trails that would meet all different ranges of ability. So if you're out in Western Maryland, I think that's great. Out on the eastern shore of Maryland, in the town of Easton, there are some great rails to trails trails that are paved. So very, very accessible, and they go through this historic little town of Easton. So there's some great hiking there.
I've walked there. I've done it. I've actually been on that trail.
Have you?
Done it.
Did you know they've expanded it?
I did not know that, but we stayed at the Hummingbird Inn or Hummingbird Bed and Breakfast, Hummingbird Inn in Easton.
Yeah.
And behind there, because he knows about parks, he was like, we did Blackwater Refuge, National Wildlife Refuge, when we stayed there. And he says, there's the Rails to Trails. I love the Rails to Trails program. That is something everyone needs to look up. It is amazing what they have done across. I need to get them on a podcast too. Seriously. But I mean, it was like this beautiful walk, and they had a little old train depot, and and there was ladybugs all over. There were ladybugs.
There's murals too. There's a couple of murals that are tributes to Frederick Douglass. I mean,
yes,
there's all kinds of history along that trail.
And historic downtown, and they have a whole thing on Frederick Douglass downtown too. I think at the courthouse. It was a couple years ago, but
They do.
gorgeous trees, shaded. Beautiful. So wow,
and it's
that's cool.
It's super easy. Next time you're out, they've expanded it further, like across out of town, across the river is escaping my name, but yeah, they've extended it even further outside of town, and so it's really a nice little easy trail. And then I guess I spent a lot of time at the Delaware beaches, and there is a trail that people love in Cape Henlopen State Park called Gordon's Pond. The Gordon's Pond Trail. Again, you get wildlife, nature, dunes. It's an easy hike. You find people that are walking and biking as well. So if you happen to be in the Rehoboth Beach area, Gordon's Pond is a really great easy trail as well.
Gordon's Pond, not Golden Pond, but Gordon's Pond.
Gordon, yeah, Gordon. Yep,
it's his pond. Yeah, I want to go to Golden. I want to be on Golden Pond, don't you?
But yes, that sounds awesome.
But I love these kind of easy trails that are multi, access to, and a lot of them, like you're saying, murals, and having that kind of public art along the way is always cool to give people. Some of us need to stop to breathe, and we need an excuse. So public art is a really good thing for those of us who may need to have a breather. I'm just saying, on trails.
No, it's true. It is absolutely true.
We don't have to say, hey, y'all, I'm unfit. We just need to look at some art.
Oh, that's funny. I'm going to use that. I'm just looking at the art.
Yeah. Or like I'm just, repositioning my camera battery. Something like that. But yeah, so your area has a lot of accessible trails, it sounds like. Easy.
It does. It does. And a lot of the times, they're near the water, which makes it also even better. So yeah.
Mm. And the coastal trails to me are really cool to have.
Yeah.
Just to have like some beach and some sand dunes, like you're saying, and to have a different view of wildlife and bird life from the coastal aspect. And oftentimes you get those cool breezes in the heat of summer. We want those cool breezes,
Yeah.
We want
And
to stay
honestly,
at a breeze though.
yeah. And those trails were, a lifesaver during the pandemic, getting out there and, being able to be outside and, it just, it was really,
Exactly. I know during the pandemic, our tour started just doing national park units, which meant the monuments, historic sites. So, now we have over 400 and something parks, 420 or 430. I can't keep count, but, which is great. And, then we went, we might as well just do it all because we are. And, you'd get to a town and see what the community was doing with a park and why not cover that? It's important. So now we cover everything, even a pocket park, because these parks, sometimes they have a mini library, those little libraries, or some shade for people that need it, or just a green patch, and the birds want it. So we
yeah.
really started to see that, and we put up during the pandemic one map, and we're going to have to recreate it all, so it's not there now, but within, I think, 1 to 2 weeks, we had like over 100,000 people access this map
That's awesome.
of community parks. It was only about community parks. Now, some people have national parks in their backyard. And when we did it, the backyard was Joshua Tree National Park. So I'm like, well, that's a community park for that town. That's really cool.
Yeah.
29 Palms has Joshua Tree National Park. So you get to get in the map, But we had things, just the smallest, the biggest, so long as it did have shade, a walking path, that kind of thing. Some basics, that were there. We put it in there. So the community parks really, I think, saw a boost, and the cities felt it. And I think as we move forward, our communities across the country have become a little bit more active. And so I'm hoping that, we get a little bit more vocal for our municipalities in that let's be part of the community to keep these parks there and fund them and do certain projects like putting more trees in for the health of a community, and also restoring like habitats, wetlands, like you've talked about for, like for osprey and things like that. So, and programs for kids and families. I think we're on track to do more of that, and let's keep it that way. I think that's the thing too. If you can go on a ranger-led hike, isn't that the coolest?
Oh, absolutely.
They go slow too.
Yeah. No, I've loved that. And there's such a wealth of information. And some of my favorite ones, not necessarily been in Maryland, but out on Yellowstone, like some night sky, ranger-led activities. Oh my gosh, you can learn so much.
I have to ask you this because I know you went to Wales and the Isle of Man, and you did like a whole your UK thing this year. We're going to have a whole segment on today's programming about hiking the UK, Hadrian's Wall, the Wales coastal path, walking path, English coastline, Pedder's Way, which is old Roman roads. Did you do any, footsteps while you were in the UK?
Unfortunately, it was a group travel, and we really didn't get to do any like real hiking, which, is really a missed opportunity. But we did go through one of the national parks called Snowdonia in Wales, and it was absolutely gorgeous and inspiring. And I would welcome an opportunity to go back and be able to spend some time and do some hiking and exploring of Wales, because it's just a beautiful country.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Julie. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, and we can't wait to hear more about your adventures. So everyone, if you go to nationalparktraveling.com, you can just type in Julie Suman, it's Suman. You'll find her articles there on the two places we touched on. Plus, we've got more. Just look in the episode notes. So everyone, happy hiking day, and let's all go take a hike. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.